Professor Ashok Gulati is one of the country's leading agricultural economists, and he joins me now. Appreciate your joining us, Professor Gulati. You have been a supporter of not having a minimum income guarantee, and you and others have been writing that you believe that such a legal guarantee of a minimum support price would be financially unviable, is a bad idea, would end up in fiscal instability. On what basis are you arguing this? Why do you believe that a minimum support price would lead to fiscal chaos and financial instability if we gave it to the farmers of the country?
Let me further add that it can be anti-farmer. How? Normally the prices are decided by demand and supply. And if the MSP is made legal, the production, assume, of a particular commodity is 100, but the demand is 70, then what will happen? Nobody will touch the remaining 30. It will stay with the farmers. What will you do? What can they do? Because if I buy at a price lower than MSP, I may be put behind the bars if it is legal, right? So the issue is a simple understanding of a ninth grader who has studied demand and supply. When the prices are low, demand is high. When the prices are high, demand is low. And market has to clear. And if you don't understand this ABC, of basic economics, then I'm sorry. Demanding legal and implementing that all over the country for 23 commodities, to me, it's impossible.
But with due regard, Dr. Gulati, you would then end up leaving the farmers to the vagaries of the market and the monsoon. Farmers want some sense of reassurance, some kind of income security given to them, given the vagaries of monsoon and the market process. If sugar, for example, can have remunerative prices that governments decide, why can't farmers across these 23 crops also get a minimum support price? Why the hesitation?
Let me put the facts on the table. These 23 commodities constitute only 28% of the agriculture produce. That segment of agriculture which is flying high, fastest rate of growth, 8 to 9% per annum, is poultry. Is there an MSP for poultry products, eggs or poultry meat? Then is fishery, 7 to 8% rate of growth per annum for the last 10-15 years. Is there MSP? Milk, which is bigger than rice, wheat, pulses, sugarcane, all put together. Is there an MSP? It is growing between 5 to 6% per annum. 72% of agriculture is driven by market prices, not by MSP. Within MSP of 23 crops, real implementation of MSP is only in wheat and rice primarily, and that too in 5-6 states. You go to Bihar, for the last 50 years, their prices of paddy are 15 to 25% lower than MSP. So why don't you go and procure there? Now your other question, which is a concern, and I'm also concerned. Farmer faces two types of risks: nature's risk and market risk. For the nature's risk, there is a crop insurance. If you want to take advantage of that, but the companies that will do insurance, they are not doing charities. You have to pay premium, highly subsidized by the government, and they feel, oh, insurance companies are making money. Well, they have to make money if they have to be in business, but you and me insure our cars. Not that every day it will meet an accident, but whenever it meets, then you get the compensation for that. So that's how insurance operates. Same thing in case of prices. You have suspended the futures, which is one way to look at what the prices should be. You have banned exports. You have put stocking limits on the traders. You have unloaded things at a price lower than the economic cost, pushing the market prices to the MSP. So these are the problems. You have to get the markets right. You can't become a centralized economy where each and every commodity, there are more than 100 commodities. Why they should not get an MSP? Tell me that.
So that's an interesting argument, Dr. Gulati. I'll come also to the solutions that perhaps one can offer. But one of the criticisms that you and others have made is that the MSP guarantee in law will cost anything between 10 to 11 lakh crore rupees. There are others, though, likes of Yogendra Yadav, who are saying these are all exaggerated figures by the government, that these are assumptions being made. How do you respond? Is the government creating this fear? We give a legal guarantee, we'll be left with a huge burden on our exchequer. Is there a source on the basis of which these numbers are being thrown up?
That you ask the government. My simple question to whosoever is speaking about those things is, what sin as a milk farmer I have committed that I should not get a guarantee?
No.
All the commodities should get the same treatment. What is so special about these 23?
No.
Because they are being produced by these large farmers?
Sir, but do you believe that this is the actual figure? 11 lakh crores is what a legal MSP guarantee would cost. Do we actually have a figure at all?
If the government has to purchase all these 23 commodities, it depends upon what the market price is. If the market price goes below that, only then the government will buy. And it can be, at times 5% below, it can be 20% below, it can be 25% higher. So it will differ from year to year.
No.
And space, it's lower in Bihar, but all the trains are coming of paddy from Bihar to sell in Punjab. Everybody knows that.
But Dr. Gulati, is the answer then? Let's look at solutions. The government surely can fine-tune a price stabilization scheme to ensure that market prices don't fall below a minimum guarantee level. Maybe that's one way to protect the farmer's income and support him.
That's right. So that is what the solution could be. You can say the price stabilization fund. Actually, today they are using more for protecting the consumer than protecting the farmer. So that price stabilization fund could be 20,000 crores, and wherever the prices fall below, let's say, more than 10% below MSP, the government must act immediately. That pressure. But making it legal, you are asking even other traders not to touch it, because they will fear they can be put behind the bar, and that will become anti-farmer.
So what you're saying is, rather than focus on this legal guarantee, focus on fine-tuning a price stabilization scheme, a price stabilization fund that gives farmers protection and in a way protects them from the vagaries of markets and monsoons. Am I correct?
Yes, perfectly right. In fact, in my earlier incarnation with the government, that's what I had recommended at that time. And 5,000 crores were put for that. But they have been using that when the prices go high, they want to give to the consumer at a lower price. And that is covered under a price stabilization fund. The real purpose of that was, if the prices, like onion, it can go to 5 rupees a kg and 50 rupees a kg. When it goes 50 rupees a kg, government wants to sell at 25 rupees a kg. But when it goes to 5 rupees, nobody comes forward. That's the time for the government to enter with that price stabilization fund.
Very interesting. Is it your view, therefore, that this demand, therefore, for a legal guarantee for MSP is basically being driven by large farmers from specific states who stand to gain, mainly wheat and rice farmers? It doesn't benefit majority of the farmers of the country. Is that what you're saying? That there is a large pool of farmers outside this MSP regime even now?
You look at all East India, east of Lucknow, they have been selling since the time Agriculture Prices Commission was set up in 1965. It's 59 years today. And they are always selling, go and check their paddy prices. They are 15 to 25% below MSP. Are they agitating and coming to Delhi?
So where does that...
Why don't you give them that? Go and establish a shop there.
Where does that leave, though, Dr. Gulati, the Swaminathan Commission recommendation, the formula that was devised, that the cost of inputs and other costs plus 50%, Uh, are you saying also that that's unviable in your view, and therefore you need to look at alternatives to just a C2 plus 50% formula?
Swaminathan committee has two recommendations on MSP, which these farmers are demanding. One is this legal thing that you are talking about. The other is it should be 50% over cost C2. That is the comprehensive cost. That means your owned land and owned capital, their imputed interest and imputed rent should also be counted as a cost, which means the MSP levels will go up by 25 to 30%. With all the due regard and great respects for Dr. Swaminathan as a scientist, but I'm sorry, economics doesn't speak about that type of pricing. That will create a major chaos in the system. So as an economist, whatever little I know of demand and supply and how the markets function and how the economy functions, I think this will be throwing a spanner, not just in the agriculture sector, but in the entire economy.
But Dr. Gulati, multiple challenges then come out. One, as you've been saying, how do you raise farm incomes? The other is, how do you get farmers to move away from wheat and rice to crops, to new crops, diversify the agriculture basket? How do you incentivize farmers to diversify? In the absence of a minimum support price, the question that is often asked is, what happens when markets crash? Last week, for example, the quinoa crop in Punjab crashed, and the farmers were destroying their crop because they were not getting their price. How do you then motivate them, incentivize them to diversify their crop and raise their incomes?
There are different ways. Ultimately, farmers' income need to go up, right? That's what we are concerned with. Now, in high value commodities, incomes can be much higher than in basic staple crops like wheat and rice. Same per hectare if you are having a poultry farm or a fish pond or a fruit or vegetable, the normal profits would be much higher. But there is a volatility, and that you are right. So there could be compensation during special years. Quinoa can be selling at 10 rupees a kg also, and it could be 30 rupees, 40 rupees a kg also. So the price stabilization fund that you talked about can help. Easiest way, you can give an income support to the farmers.
So you're talking about an income support, a price stabilization fund as the real solution. Could that then become the basis of a dialogue between government and protesting farmers? Because otherwise, the scenes that we've seen in the last couple of years, it seems, will almost keep repeating because there is a deadlock.
You know, that's one way to proceed. My own understanding, and I've studied global literature and I've worked on 40 countries' agriculture, country after country has come out of price support operations because they are distorting the markets. And the inefficiency that is built up in that is costing the economy hell. Country after country has gone in for direct income support to the farmers on per hectare basis. And then, you know, they will say, okay, China, for example, it gave $22 billion worth of support to its farmers. But they say aggregate input support, and they can buy anything from fertilizers to power to seeds or pesticides with that money. But then the prices will be market determined. And that's the way to go. Otherwise, whether it is fertilizer or food, when you highly subsidize, it leads to massive diversion, massive inefficiency, massive corruption in the system. So price support operations have to be minimized, and the way for that is price stabilization fund, and gradually you have to move to income support, investment support.
Should the initiative for these reforms, Dr. Gulati, start from states? That if there are farm laws, for example, which the government rolled back, which you believe are useful, should a BJP-ruled state now tomorrow show a model wherein these laws work effectively so that some of the apprehension fears of the farmers are dispelled? That's the way forward again.
You know, many states are already doing it. Okay, there was a law, that farm law repealed on contract farming. Do you think contract farming is not going on in the country? You go in Maharashtra, there are several cases of contract farming. Even in Punjab, Bharti Airtel has been doing business in agriculture, contracting with the farmers. Even in West Bengal, Pepsi has been doing with potato farmers contract farming. So they are going ahead, but if you don't have an overarching, law at a central level, then naturally the pan-India strategy cannot be worked out by big investors because it requires building proper value chains. That is the issue. And who is going to invest? The farmers cannot invest in the entire value chain. So that law, but what you are talking MSP is a central subject. The food procurement is a central subject. Fertilizer subsidy is a central subject. One possibility is, okay, this is what we are spending. This is the kitty. We give it to the states on certain basis and let the states do whatever they like. If they want to give a higher price, if they want to give a legal, backing to MSP in Punjab, let them do it. And then you see all the buyers will shift to, UP and nobody will buy from Punjab. What will happen then?
But Dr. Gulati, there seems to be a basic lack of trust between the farmer unions, especially of Punjab and the government. How do you eliminate a trust deficit? What will it take, in your view, to convince the farmers that really that the farm laws are in their interest, according to you? Unless you build this trust factor, how are we going to move forward? What is the way forward then?
One thing you have to take, one is the economic part, which I can explain, right? I know farmers are not doing very great, but they are not doing very bad even. Okay, so 3.5% rate of growth in agriculture has been going on. You can do it a little better, but agriculture cannot fly at 7-8%, maybe in one state or other. Prime Minister Modi, when he was the chief minister, Gujarat agriculture grew at 9.2% per annum for 13 years when Mr. Modi was the chief minister. After that, Madhya Pradesh has done it. But, Punjab agriculture is growing at 2% per annum. So you need to move to a different basket. Wheat and rice cannot give you much. It was needed in 60s and 70s. Today you have surpluses of rice and nobody wants it. You dump it on the government, and what will government do? Distribute free. Reforms have to start actually with public distribution system. You give them the food coupons, let them buy 10 commodities, 15 commodities, whether you want pulses or oil seeds or edible oil or anda or milk, let them buy that. Why do you force them to take only wheat and rice? That's the problem. Then everything gets skewed on wheat and rice. And wheat and rice cannot increase the farmers' incomes. Remember this. You have to move to high-value agriculture. Diversify. Otherwise, be ready to give more income support. Let every in Punjab, paddy production gets 30,000 rupees per hectare subsidy from free power and subsidized fertilizers. If he is growing pulses or oil seeds, he doesn't need that much of fertilizer, he doesn't need that much of water. Why don't you give to the pulses pulses producers or oil seed producer 25,000 rupees per hectare to create a crop neutral incentive structure? That is what would be rational.
I sense, of course, your desire to put economics above politics. But the fact is, sir, there is politics in these protests as well. We are in an election year. Whether it's the Congress, which is saying if we come to power, we'll give this minimum support price. Whether the BJP under Mr. Modi said we will double farm incomes, which has not happened. Do you, Mr. Gulati, maybe want to play the role of some of these suggestions being used that you put in this show to break the deadlock? You can bridge the divide.
I'm an economist. Politicians can promise the moon. We have seen it in the past. We are seeing it today. Some political party announces we can do this, we can do that. Well, all this report was with you for all these years. Why didn't you do at that time? So when you're out of power, it's a different game. When you want to give and sell dreams, it's a different game. Politics is a very different animal. I'm not fit for that, but I know I have spent 40 years for the benefit of farmers, not just in this country, but several countries. I have worked on agriculture, and whatever best I have learned, I can share. But politics, the ruling party and the opposition parties, they have to deal with it. I'm not
Professor
the right
Gulati,
person for that.
this last 20 minutes has been an education for a number of our viewers, hopefully, who need to understand more about the challenges of a legal guarantee of a minimum support price and the alternatives that might exist to try and avoid a confrontation between farmers and the government. At the end of the day, all we want to see is our farmers increasing their incomes. Thank you very much, Professor Gulati, for joining me. I hope those suggestions that you made are incorporated in any dialogue.